I was coming out of class. First thing I thought was it must be some kind of idiot frat joke. A mangled mannequin in a pantsuit smothered in ketchup or whatever. I dated a guy in a house once, spent a night there, a fucking zoo. Bunch of Neanderthals, banging on the door all night, couldn't get out of there fast enough in the morning. Then I got closer. At that point, people were already starting to scream, and don't ask me why, I know you're not supposed to stand there and gawk. I guess I'm like anybody else. There's something about wreckage, you know? You want to get close, get your nose in there and smell it. It's disgusting, I know. But listen, here's the thing. The only thing I could think of was, damn, she's got pretty nice legs. With legs like that, why would somebody want to mangle them?
No. Please. Oh. No.
She was my friend. Yes, years. But admit something was wrong, even remotely wrong, never. Even so, I do feel the need, out of what, loyalty? To drag his soul over the coals. Okay, I confess a certain affection for him. Of course, there are the girls to think about. And he had the class not to sleep around too publicly, but that didn't mean he didn't let it be known he had multiple opportunities. Oh, you'd like a list? Clyde Tyson's wife, Maggie, Lynn Martoni, Lisa, whatever the hell her name is in the provost's office, is something unassuming like Lisa Gray, but don't let that fool you. Lisa Gray. And of course, Naomi Bowers. But what else is new under the sun? That's not the point. The point is that his game was acting like he was doing her a grand favor by refraining on account of their reputations, their positions, and yes, the girls. I'm not assigning blame here. Do you understand? I'm channeling my indignation. Is that the point? That rage has to go somewhere? What is the point? I've lost track. She was my friend. Fuck him. That's all I'm saying.
There was a certain, I don't know, grace to it. Maybe even dignity to it, Shar. Oh, for Christ's sake, it's not like I got some kick out of it. If I was standing any closer, I'd have shouted, "Hey, lady, there's a lot to live for. The sun, the moon, spring rain, babies, deli meat." But she was decisive. Even from where I was standing below, I could tell she didn't hesitate, and you've got to give it.
What are you even talking about? How could you possibly know whether she was decisive or not?
Because I watched her. I was telling you a story. I was telling you a story about something I saw about this woman. I was only talking. Apparently she was important. High up.
The Board of Regents. First I ever heard of them. They run the place, apparently. You have to get appointed by the governor. They said on the radio she had 2 daughters.
I met Sarah at a lecture on William James in New Haven. We both had arrived late, so we had to stand in the back. We kept bumping elbows and apologizing. She wore this little gray hat and her hair peeked out on the sides. The lecture droned on, but I couldn't hear a word. Sarah took notes, though. She scribbled furiously on this little pad, and she raised her leg so that she could write. You have to understand, I had never seen anything so beautiful as the way she took notes on her knee.
Richard was older by a few years. They'd waited to have children. Sarah was maybe 38 when Stephanie was born. Tilly was 3 or so years later. Both their careers were in full swing by then. Rising stars at the university. You should have seen them after Steph was born. They used to run around that little arboretum with the kid on their shoulders like barefoot hippies. Still, they were the toast. Murray trusted Sarah and buddied around and drank with Richard. A great match from the university's point of view. God, the two of them were tight-lipped. Good soldiers. Tapped both of them for administration, and because it meant more money, and supposedly, in theory, more time, they took it. Both came out of English. A few years ago, he brought out a book on Pound. Her book on Marianne Moore she never finished. Perhaps the manuscript.
It always circles around you.
I was 50 yards away, in front of the league.
Jesus, Jerry, I'm not saying you could have saved her.
Well, what then?
I'm saying you're a father. I'm saying she had 2 daughters, and you're babbling about how this person who obviously needed help was decisive.
You skew things. You always do. I saw something. It's not like I got a kick out of it. I saw something. This thing that I want to come home and I want to tell you about. This thing that I saw. This terrible thing, yes, but also something that I saw. How's Molly doing today?
Fine.
Did Mrs. Hans call about the shower?
No.
Do you want me to go check on Molly?
No.
Honey, all I said was she didn't hesitate. Lately, I feel like I'm all over the place. The days go by like, you know?
The first thing I thought was, how could she?
Leave her children to the wolves.
Yes! That was my first thought. And then you think, she must have waited out, right? She must have taken it into consideration and waited out. And when the scales tipped, when the loss of her fell below a certain point, or rose, fuck the metaphor, it doesn't matter.
I was thinking I might run over to Frank's and grab a grilled cheese before office hours. And I took a look at the clock on the bell tower and it was 5 minutes to 11 and classes were about to let out. I saw someone's head sticking out the window near the top. I thought they were getting some fresh air. I've always thought how weird it is to have an office all the way up near the top, and I had that thought then. I thought it's weird to have an office all the way up near the top. And then I thought whoever it was, they must have slipped. Isn't that ridiculous? Who slips out of a window? And then classes let out, and the whole place was engulfed with students. There was shouting, and there was screaming. Not scared screaming, just screaming for screaming's sake. Do you know what I mean? 2 or 3 minutes later, the sirens flared, and the sirens made everything normal again.
I hung around for a while. They blocked off Hill Street by the auditorium with ambulances and fire trucks. Lots of firemen milling around like they weren't sure what to do. I mean, how much harboring men does one dead woman need? Campus police tried to hold us back, but people kept pushing from behind. The whole crowd moved forward like this one giant blob, And we kept closing in on this one campus rent-a-cop who was young and you could tell scared. Back, back, he shouted in this like 10-year-old's voice. Give her some room, he said. Like in that moment, she could have given a damn.
It's impossible to pinpoint, but there was a change the last few years. Sarah Leopold was driven, fiery in her quiet way, and yet she'd suffered a few chinks in her armor. Some setbacks at work, you know how that goes. Some projects didn't pan out. She was on the losing side of that battle to put the new chemistry building on North Campus instead of right in the middle of the diag. They wanted it in the middle of the diag, and that's where they put it. She wasn't a woman to fail, Sarah. God knows, you don't jump out of a window because you lose some stupid battle at work, right? Right? About 6 months ago, I was waiting for her at Moe's, and I watched her cross the street from my seat at the window. You know, the two of us had this little private book club. I'd choose a book for my seminar, and we'd discuss it. It was a good way to prepare for class. All I had to do was listen to Sarah. Anyway, from the window, I watched her bump into a man, or a man bump into her. Either way, it was a jostle. And Sarah dropped the package she was carrying right in the middle of the street. She looked down at the box and clearly didn't know what to do. I don't know what was in it, but I don't think the contents had anything to do with why she didn't pick it up right away. She just stared at it.
You should hear Steph talk. 15 going on 35. Why, the other day, she asked me if I thought Markham would be reelected as mayor. And I said, well, he's a Democrat. I always vote for Democrats, so I'll vote for him. And she said, maybe this town needs some new blood. And didn't I think there was too much development? When are we going to be satisfied with what we've built and say enough? We raised an interested human being. And her sister, too, Tilly, she's happy. Well, she does nothing but read from the moment she gets up until the moment she goes to sleep. Little Sarah's. Both of them. You want to know? I want to know.
A few years ago, we were at the gas station and Mom put her head down on the steering wheel and started to sleep. It was just me and her. I said, Mom, we're at the self-serve. She said, just a couple of minutes, honey. A couple of minutes to rest. So I tugged on her arm. Mom, I said pretty loud. 5! She yelled. Just 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking for. She didn't even look at me. She just kept her head down on the steering wheel. So I got out and started to pump the gas. I tried to press the lever just a little to give her more time.
The last time we had sex was 5 months ago. And after, I told her that I still loved her. And she said, no, I didn't. But that was all right. All right, I said. And she said, well, after 27 years of marriage, you can't expect. I said, Sarah. And she said, shh, don't get excited. She could be so aggressively indifferent at times. And the doctors, oh, suddenly there are so many doctors. The children have a doctor, I have a doctor. And my doctor says she was such a master at disguising her own pain that even her husband could not fathom what she might be capable of in a low moment. I nod gravely, knowing they're all liars. You can see the bell tower from my office window. If I had been looking... cold. And these doctors swagger around and talk about low moments.
Let her cry.
After they removed the body, the crowd didn't disperse right away. People lingered, kept staring up at the tower like it was going to tell us something we didn't know. The campus cop, who didn't look like he was about to shit his pants anymore, said the woman had an office up there. Office is up there. You'd be surprised how much space is up there. It's round, but there's a lot of room in the middle, like a lighthouse. Then some dumb schlump behind me said, "Lady jumped off the ivory tower, get it, get it?" If I'd been close enough, I'd have slugged him.
The university has lost an irretrievable part of its soul. Our task in the weeks and months ahead is to take what we know of Sarah's life and love and begin a healing process.
Finally, she woke up and I said, Mom, we've got to go inside and pay for the gas.
For what felt like an interminable hour. And then she scooped up the package and marched across the street like a general. She started right in on the book. She said that one of the characters, a little girl named Natasha, had been doing ballet in her head all day, leaping and spinning, and that she could hardly work. The girl was distracting her so much. Beautiful dancing, she said. It's almost hard to take, she said. Beautiful, beautiful dancing. She went on talking about the book. There were days like that. Days when she would just be lost in her on and on. I just sipped my coffee and listened.
It's so simple. You think all you have to do is wake up, you know? Wake up, breakfast. And after Molly wakes up, I give her breakfast. Cereal, always the same cereal. And after she plays for a while, I'm going to take her to the Y. Then I go to Pearson's office to answer phones and drink more coffee, then Rackham to reach till 2:45, then class, then back to the Y, then home. And sometimes I can't sleep because I'm too keyed up from the day, you know? Sometimes I take a pill. And sometimes the pill doesn't work and I lie there, more awake than when I got into bed.
The woman was ill, Shar, for everybody, every morning. Isn't something...
Did I say that? I didn't say that. Did I say she wasn't ill?
Let's check on the baby.
I said leave her.
I didn't know what to do with myself after everything was over, so I went to the library. Way up on the 7th floor of the grad, they've got these enclosed carrels where you can just shut the door and be alone. You can touch yourself, fart, pick the hell out of your nose, whatever. It's your world in there. Basically soundproof too. You can sing if you want to. I just put my head down in my bio book and crashed and woke up with an indentation of the binding in my forehead, so I went to the bathroom to check it out. A thick red groove. I went back to the carrel and sat there and waited for the thing to dissolve back into my head. And I'm sitting there, and I have a good view of the bell tower, all narrow and tall and rising. I looked at the tops of the trees in the diag and saw a couple of guys tossing a frisbee. I still felt tired, but I didn't want to go back to sleep again, so I stood up and jumped around, you know, to wake myself up.